On the banks of the Colorado River, where it flows so fast and so wide the far bank might as well be 1,000 miles away, a man stooped and cupped his hands, preparing to plunge them into the crystal-clear water. From the rear he appeared a solid-looking man, shoulders bunched with muscle. But from the front it was clear this man was suffering. His shirt, splattered with crimson, hung from torn trousers, his hair fell lank across his pain-ingrained face, and his hands, as they brought the cool water to his broken lips, trembled. Dried blood covered him like a second skin, the largest patch of which spread across his inner thigh, and he was swathed in bandages. He drank, more water slipping from between his fingers than into his mouth, forcing him to repeat the action, gasping every time. Missing from his right hand were several digits, nothing more than bloody stumps. A movement from the thick sagebrush caused him to swing around awkwardly. Wincing for a moment, he almost buckled over onto the ground before he used one hand, palm flat against the hard earth, to stop himself. His other squeezed against his thigh. "You be careful them stitches, fella," came the voice of an older, gnarled individual, stomping from the brush, a muzzle-loading musket draped over his shoulder, 2 large buck rabbits in his fist. "I told you to rest." "I was thirsty," said the man, his voice creaking like a worn, dried-up piece of leather. "Wait for me next time," said the old man, dropping everything onto the ground. He leaned backwards and stretched out his arms from either side. Bones cracked, and he cackled, "Dear God, I am too old for all of this. I'll do my share when I can. Well, that won't be for the best part of a week, fella." He hobbled forward, bow-legged, rocking side to side like a pendulum. "We have a good enough camp here. When you're feeling up to it, we can go down to Twin Buttes and—" He stopped, noting the black cloud settling over the man's face at the mention of the town's name. "Geez, what the hell's up with you?" "I'm not going back there," he said, falling down on his backside, staring at the river. He nonchalantly picked up several stones and threw them into the depths one by one. "You care to tell me why?" "It's a long story." "It can't be as long as mine." The man turned to the older one, arching a single eyebrow. "You never did tell me why you saved me. Fella, I ain't in the business of detailed explanations. I saw you bleeding to death back at my camp, so I helped you out. Simple as, fella." "Your camp?" "You heard me. Figured I'd patch you up, then, when you's able, you can tell me what in the hell happened back there. And—" His hand moved behind his back, and when it returned, it was filled with a revolver. "You can explain to me why my daughter was sitting in my shack, dead. So you're Dan Stokes. That be me. Who are you?" "My name's Dixon. I'm a U.S. Marshal out of Fort Bridger. You can check if you like, back at Twin Buttes, but I ain't going there, not yet." "A U.S. Marshal." He rubbed his grizzled chin. "Here's my proposal, fella. I'll make us coffee. Then you tell me your story, and I'll tell you mine." "Sounds like a good enough trade." "Uh-huh, it is. But you make one move against me, or tell me any lies, and I'll blow your damned head off. You get me?"